Hello and welcome back to our fourth Q&A now, I think it is. We're certainly getting these numbers up. So I want to thank you all for all the great questions. There's been quite a few in this episode and we had quite a few in the last one as well, so thank you very much. As always, I'll start off by saying if you want to skip to specific questions, they're down in the description. So if you just want to see the answer to your question, you can do that there. And also if you'd like your question answered in this series, the best way to do it is either leave a question in the comment section below, send me a message or on Instagram or via email at info@kibblewatches, or wait till usually a Tuesday and we put on the Instagram stories the questions box that you can ask your questions in, which is where most of the questions come from, so thank you very much. Now before we dive into the questions, let's have a look at what's on my wrist, because I'm trying my best not to forget to do this. I am actually wearing my personal Omega DeVille Chronostop Dynamic Duo Weird Wonderful combination. I absolutely love this watch. As I said, it's one in the personal collection. I have no intentions of selling it anytime soon. And I've been very fortunate to actually find a very similar one which is coming soon to Kibble Watches, so keep an eye out for those of you who are always asking me about this one. Now let's get into it. So question one, it's actually sort of like a question from two people which kind of are the same thing. So first of all, Spanish Rob, thank you very much for the question. He asks, hi Kibble, any advice to someone who wants to start selling? I'm flustered and I have the hardest time starting. I have a bunch of stuff to sell but not sure where to start. Thanks for any advice you can share. And the second part is Alfie Bland, I think that's how you pronounce your name. How did you grow your business from the start? So the reason I've combined these two is because the advice I'm going to give to Spanish Rob is kind of my own story of how I started. So I actually replied to Spanish Rob separate to this as well. So the premise of everything with this is it's the long game. You know, patience is 100% everything. I was asked in the previous Q&A, what is the number one sort of attribute or something I've learned over the past, and patience is definitely it. This is a long game kind of industry. You can't go into it and start selling loads and loads of pieces and be instantly, you know, a multi-million-pound company. It doesn't work that way. You've got to work your way up, or at least if you're doing it with very little capital or very few stock, it's the way it's going to be. So my advice to him was patience. You know, understand this is going to be a long game. And where to start, if you've already got stock, you need a website. You need an established place where people can go to see all your stock in one. Because I know there's quite a few Instagram dealers out there and they show what they've got for sale, but it gets very overwhelming when there's like 10 stories, posts and everything like that of all the different watches they've got for sale, and you can't go to a specific place to see the watches in detail with the photos and descriptions, the prices, etc. It's just easier that way. So have a good website built. Don't have to pay for one to get done. You know, we're very fortunate. We have a very good website made by Broadbridge Design. Apologies if I butchered that. I'll leave a link down below to his website if you want to go and get it professionally made. But there's Wix, there's a lot of other website makers you can use. So make a website, put your watches on there, do good descriptions and good photos. Those are the two key things. So that's how you start. And as I said, it's a long game, so appreciate that. And that's how I started the business. You know, it was 4 or 5 years of literally building up everything I could, getting whatever stock I could, which was good sellable stock, and doing the absolute most I could. You know, I was providing more photos for my £200 watches than a lot of people in the industry were doing for their £20,000 Rolexes. You know, it's the attention to detail that people will appreciate, so definitely do that. And one thing I want to say as well is don't expect to get rich in this industry. Is there a possibility? Of course, there's dealers out there who I personally know who make a lot of money, but the margins in this industry are incredibly low. And I want to give you an example. Usually watch dealers, honest watch dealers, obviously some people make a lot more, some people make a lot less, but usually most dealers make between 8 and 12% margin. So when you really break that, Jesus Christ, what is going on right now? Sorry about that. Our office is in Clerkenwell, and for those of you who've been down here, there's always roadworks, there's always diverted traffic, and everyone is super impatient because it's London. But as I was saying, most dealers make between 8 and 12% margin. So when you really work it out, if you're £1 million in sales, let's say, and you've made, let's just make it easy maths, 10%, right? That's £100,000 margin. Then you take off all your taxes, your VAT and everything like that. And here in the UK, most dealers work on margin schemes, so they pay VAT on the margin they've made. So on that £100,000, they'd pay £20,000 of that in VAT to the government. Then there's all the taxes, then there's your costs involved, there's the photography, there's the equipment, there's the marketing, there's all these different things. So to be £1 million company is super impressive, right? To do £1 million in sales, but your margin is very little. Like, you really have to be doing a lot of sales to make money in this industry. So to people who I know who want to get into this industry to make money, don't do it. You know, this is an industry where you're going to make a lot of money. You've got to be passionate and you've got to love it. And that is my advice to you. Also want to say thank you for these kind of questions. I really enjoy them, and I will be giving very long-winded answers. So if you're looking for like snippet answers and little nibbits, this isn't going to be the series for you. You know, I'm going to go into detail. Okay, question 2. It's a question from 2 people because I feel like they can be combined. So Pete Smith, 1176, thank you for the question. He says, business plans this year, and Abdul AR_1, where would you love to see Kibble watches in the next 10 years? What's the dream? So business plans for this year, and I'll be very, very honest with you guys, I don't mind talking numbers. I'm aiming for £500,000 in sales this year. So that puts into perspective as what I was talking about before with £1 million sales, we're not even there yet. So, you know, put it into perspective. I'm aiming for £500,000 in sales this year. Our margins are pretty good, we're doing very well. And I really cannot complain. You know, I'm doing this full time with an office here in Clerkenwell, and you know, we've got other people doing different bits and bobs for us, not on a full-time basis as such, but you know, it's getting there. So £500,000 this year, that's the plan, and also a 30% increase in volume of watches sold. They're the sort of goals. I think if we're carrying on to be very honest, that works out about 9,500 a week that we need to do. And so far, we've hit that pretty much every week combined so far this year, which for January is good because Januaries are usually slow months. So I feel confident we're going to do that. £500,000, let's go. And then next year, we're going to go for £1 million. That's the plan. And where do I see Kibble watches in the next 10 years? What's the dream? I mean, for me, I love watches and I love business. In the next 10 years, I don't think I'll just have Kibble watches. I think I'll still be doing Kibble watches as my main thing, and I'll hopefully have a team of 5 to 10 people by that point, a full-time watchmaker, maybe 2, a bigger office here, maybe another office here in the UK as well. But the next 10 years, I imagine myself maybe having another business or another 2 businesses. I imagine a few properties as well. You know, if things go the way they're going and what I've got in my head, that's definitely doable in the next 10 years. It's very crazy and outlandish compared to where I am right now. But just looking at growth on last year, you know, I feel like that's very achievable. But who knows, right? You know, I always set these crazy goals and these crazy dreams, and I'm on the path. Oftentimes you have to take a load of detours on the path. That's just the way it goes. So I'm excited to see what the next 10 years hold. I've been told I need to slow down. So I'm going to try and speak a little bit slower, especially for those who aren't native English speakers. I understand that can be very difficult to understand sometimes. So I'll bring it down. I'll try. I'll just get passionate. That's what it is. Okay, question 3 is from my dad at Kibsnick. He says, what will you do with the first million you make? I don't know. I have no idea. I'm nowhere even close to it yet. So, I mean, the first million I make is going to go straight back into the business. It's going to be, if ever that happens, it's going to be a very long time until there's ever £1 million just in a bank. You know, that's never going to happen with me because the money's always going to be reinvested. It's going to be put into businesses. It's going to be put into housing, whatever it may be. So I have absolutely no idea. But if I had £1 million, let's say magically someone gave me £1 million, I'd put a lot of it into this business. I'd put a lot of it into another business idea I've got, which I'm not going to talk about. I'd put some of it into property and some of it probably into the FTSE 100 for the long term. So that's what I'd do. Question 4 from Callum R. He asked, Rolex Explorer 1 or Omega Speedmaster? Great question. I mean, I don't know if I could choose between the two. I love both of them. I have 2 wrists. Can I just have both? But I mean, if I had to choose one, I guess it'd have to be the Rolex Explorer 1 for me. I prefer the 36mm size, so the older reference. I've always said it's an all-round perfect watch. The Omega Speedmaster is great, but it's a bit more complicated with the chronograph, bigger watch. So yeah, Explorer 1 for me. Question 5, Ahorn29. Thank you for the question. Any tips on finding vintage and or genuine watches on sites like eBay? It's a tough one, this. You know, I always say buy from reputable dealers because then you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting something that you know is good and correct and everything like that. And you've also got, if the worst case scenario, that dealer overlooked something or got it wrong, you've got someone you can go back to because they're not going to ruin their sort of reputation on a watch. It's just not the way dealers work. So that's my first advice. Don't buy on eBay. Find a good dealer who's got what you want and at a good price and, you know, is willing to work with you. That being said, if you are someone who wants to buy on eBay, experience. You know, you're going to get stung. You're going to make mistakes. I buy watches on eBay occasionally as well. And even I get stung. I bought a watch recently and it came and it was completely messed up and wrong and it's having to go back. So, I mean, it happens. So just experience handling lots of watches, ask questions, look at photos, but 9 times out of 10 on eBay, there's going to be very few photos, very limited description, and they're also not going to provide you that information. So eBay is a risk in and of itself. So you've just got to accept that if you're buying on eBay. Question 6, through pictures. Hope you're well and hope you're enjoying the Zenith. Can you search for specific pieces like limited edition or year of production? Great question. I get asked this a lot. So do we do sourcing? 100%. We offer it as a service, but what it usually is for us, because I'll explain it in business terms for you guys so you understand, and it's going to make it easier. Now I've answered this, I can link it to people who don't quite get why we don't do it in such a capacity. So if you want to watch, we'll add you to our wants list, which is basically a list of people with the watches they want, their budget and the specifications and all that kind of stuff. And when we get new watches in, we always first cross-check against the list to see if anyone wants that watch. Also, if we're at watch fairs or events or anything like that, which obviously we've not done any of recently, we'll have that list usually with us on our phone, and we'll cross-check as well and send photos and do whatever we need to do. So that's our version of sourcing for you. The reason we don't do specific sourcing is because that takes a lot of time, a lot of our time, and oftentimes we get asked for anywhere between 5 and 15 watches a day. So people specifically come to us asking for a specific watch. If I had to spend every single time looking for these watches, the truth is, if I found all 15 of them for these people at the prices they said, probably only 4 would commit. The reason being, a lot of people are all talk. And when you finally give them the option and they're ready to buy, all of a sudden their change of plans or circumstances change. You know, a lot of people get very excited at the thought of getting something, but when the reality comes of getting it, there's usually sort of facts in the way. They haven't got the money ready, or the wife doesn't agree. It's usually things like this that we get given. So for that reason, it makes no sense for us. It makes much more sense for us to focus on what we do well, which is sourcing great watches that I've decided we're going to have, and then selling them to people who want those watches. So that's why we don't do so much specific sourcing, especially limited editions as well. I mean, depending on what the limited edition is, we could be searching for years. That's just the way it goes. Year of production. So birth year watches. I get asked for birth year watches all the time, and I'll be very honest, most dealers really dislike doing birth year watches because it's so much pressure on a year as opposed to the watch. Because we could find the perfect example of the watch you want. Let's say you want a Speedmaster. You want a really good vintage Speedmaster, but you want a specific year. We might find you a perfect Speedmaster, a perfect price and perfect condition, but it's 2 years different, and you won't go for it, but you'll go for a worse condition, worse example, just because it's the year. People get so stuck on it that it really ruins the overall experience of owning a watch. So that's why it's not very good. Also, year of production or birth year is dependent on so many factors. Are you going based on, let's say it's a gold watch, are you going based on the hallmarks, which is when the case was made? So that could be 1 year. Are you going based on the serial, which is when the movement was made? Usually, or the case again. You know, again, that's a different year in some cases. Or you're going based on the date of sale. Again, very different. So a watch could be produced in 1980, let's say, and it sits at their factory until it goes to a retailer, until it sells at a retailer. That could be 2 years. So the watch was produced in 1980, but the guarantee says 1982. So what are you basing it on? Like, which one are you wanting, right? And the hallmark, if it's a gold watch, the case might have been made in 1979. So all of a sudden you've got 3 years attached to one watch. It just gets very complicated. It gets very pointless at that point, to be honest. Now, have I bought into birth year watches? Yeah, I owned a Speedmaster myself, which was 1997, because I wanted it. But it just so happened, I found a very good example, and it happened to be 1997. So it was the best of both worlds. So my focus is, or what I recommend to you, focus on the watch, not the year. And then if it happens to be a birth year, you've won double. That's next question from Lights Out Lim. Hope you're doing well, Mr. T. We've got 2 questions from him, actually. So the first one, when will you and John be back on IG Live? I've had a few people ask this. As of right now, because of the situation, me and John are not in the same place at the same time, and we're trying not to be at any point until obviously things open up and we can be. So until things are a bit more normal, we're not going to do it. The reason being, we like doing it in person where we're together and we've got a drink, and it feels very fun when it's in that sort of mode. Whereas when we're doing it as we started it, where it's split screen, we're both in our own place, it's still quite fun, and we might do one every now and again, but it's much more fun being in the room because then we can have the banter and the drinks and everything. It's more fun that way. So a little bit of time probably. And the next one from him, if Vincero or Filippo Loreti offered you 2 mil to shill their products, would you take the money and run? I'll be honest, I had to Google those 2 brands. I thought they were people actually, but they're brands, and they're really shit watches basically, so don't buy them. No, I wouldn't take 2 million to shill their products because at the end of the day, I don't like them, and I do buy and sell what I like, so no. It'd have to be a lot more than 2 million to ruin my reputation. There you go. Next one from Watch This Space 82. Chris, thank you for the question. He says, who's your hero or biggest influence in the watch world? So, I don't have a hero in the watch world. There's no one I really look up to that much, but there's definitely some influences. I think Roman Schaff is a huge influence to me on YouTube that you guys would know because you probably watch him. The Gentleman's Timepiece, I'm really enjoying his videos recently. He's done a weekly series where he's showing the growth of the business, and watching those videos, a few of the things he's done have influenced me recently actually. So there's two you guys will know. And the third one I think is obvious, and some of you guys and girls will definitely know him and some of you won't. Jonathan at Antique Watch. He's definitely the biggest influence on me since the early days, and you know what, I really look up to him, not only as a friend, but as definitely a mentor. You know, he's taught me a lot, so he's definitely the biggest influence for sure. Next question, we've got a lot of you guys and girls asking two questions. C Scott 992, thank you for the questions. He says, how many watches are too many? There isn't, you know, I think if you enjoy and actually wear all your watches, there isn't too many. But for me, I would say anywhere between 6 and 12 watches is sort of like my goal amount. Any more than that, I just become overwhelmed. So there's self-awareness to you, you know. You need to be self-aware of how many watches too many for you. But for me, 6 to 12, that's kind of like my point, where any more than 12, I start getting overwhelmed, as I did with my collection video, because I didn't realize I had that many watches, to be honest. So I've trimmed it right down. And his next question, where are the grey market dealers getting all their new hot watches from? ADs, question mark. You've answered your own question there, yes. Many of them are getting them either from ADs directly, authorized dealers. And by hot watches, I think he's referring to Rolexes and their latest sports models. Oftentimes what dealers will do, they'll do what's called package deals. So they will go into a AD and they will buy watches that they're not selling very many of. And if it's just Rolex, you know, you've got to think of the Cellini line, or maybe certain ladies pieces, and they'll buy those at full price in return for getting some of the latest sports models. And they will lose, let's say, 20% on a Cellini, but they'll gain a lot more than that on like 2 Daytonas. So they make their money and then some. Or they just pay in the pocket, unfortunately, the pocket of the authorised dealer, the manager. They will pay him directly, either cash or bank transfer, a couple of £100 more per watch they give them. There's all these different things that happen. Also, you got to think, not all the ADs do this, you know, by having, not all the grey market dealers, sorry, do this by having an AD in their pocket. A lot of the time, you got to think of the people actually getting the call from the AD for their Daytona, right? They're getting this watch that now they can literally double up on the money. And you got to think, for the people who haven't got, you know, unlimited money, that's a lot of money to get. You know, I can't even remember the retail price of the Daytona. I mean, it's like 10 grand. Let's just say 10 grand for the simple maths. And it sells for, let's say, 20 grand. It sells for more than that. But, you know, if he could get 20 grand the very next day and make £10,000 profit on one watch, most people will do that. And that's why there's so many new stickered watches or new retail watches on the grey market for the prices there are, because normal consumers just can't justify it for the most part, not everyone. So that hopefully answers your question. Next question, Wound Gears. He asked, best book of 2020. I've read a lot of books from 2020. I've actually got a bookshelf in the office with probably, what, 30, 40 books and then more at home. But one of the best books I read last year was actually this, Winners by Alistair Campbell. He's got a few other good books. I think I've got a few of them here as well. But this one was really good because it goes into detail about some of the best people, you know, in the world, and how they got to where they got, and, you know, how they succeed. And I think it just opens it up to the reality that everyone's just a normal person, right? No one's got, well, some people have got very incredible talents, but for the most part, it's a lot of hard work. It's the 10,000 hour rule, or whatever you want to call it. So, Winners, Alistair Campbell, give it a read. Next question from, I'm not even going to try and pronounce it, so apologies. It's on the screen. Affordable moonphase, need a gift, circa £500. You're going to struggle finding a moonphase under £500 unless you go quartz. If you go quartz, there's Tissot and I think Seiko as well, and maybe Rotary, a couple of other options. But most of them won't be true moonphases, if I'm not mistaken. Satina, I think, have one as well. But they won't be true moon phases. They're usually day-night indicators, because £500 for a moon phase, a real moon phase, that's a big complication, and especially mechanical. I just don't think you're going to find one. I'll leave that open to the guys and girls watching the video. Let her know down in the description if that can be done at £500. But off the top of my head, unless you go quartz and unless you go Satina or Tissot, I don't think you're going to be able to do it, unfortunately. Next question, Daz Oracle, I think that's how you say it. Again, apologies if not. Where's a good place to buy quality straps in the UK? Great question, so I get asked all the time. WatchGecko. So, I'm a big fan of Watch Gecko, and a few people have even said I must be sponsored by them because I have a lot of Watch Gecko straps and different bits. I'm not, I'm just very good friends with them and they're great people. So Watch Gecko, great quality straps, very affordable price for what they offer. Their accessories are great as well. I've got one of their watch rolls, and even we had one of their purses as well for ladies. Quality stuff, so go check them out. We're nearing the end, so Benel Ford, apologies for butchering it. Ideas for a first luxury tool everyday watch for 3,000 to 4,000 Australian dollars, which is about 1,600 to 2,200 pounds. Currently thinking Black Bay 36. Thoughts? So at that kind of price range, I think the Black Bay 36 is a perfect choice. I had one in the past, as you guys may know. If not, go check out my videos. They're slightly older, so I look about 10 years younger, even though I'm not. But the Black Bay 36, great option at that price range. And I think, you know, unless you're going to go pre-owned, if you're looking for a brand new retail watch that's yours and your name's on the guarantee and you're the first one to put the scratches in it, go Black Bay 36. But if you're thinking pre-owned, you might be able to squeeze maybe an Omega at that kind of price range, or maybe a Tudor if you're lucky, one of the Black Bays. Obviously not the Black Bay 36 you're looking at, but the bigger Black Bays. Yeah, I mean, it depends on your style, what you're hoping for. Black Bay 36 is a great watch. You're going to enjoy it. Look great on straps as well as NATO's, but get it on the bracelet and enjoy. Yeah, good choice. And the final question from Andy Cax. He asks, what football team do you support? None. Here's an interesting fact, I hate football. I really dislike it. And even though I'm from Leicester, and a lot of people would think I support Leicester because we're doing so well now, all of a sudden apparently, no, I'm afraid I really dislike football. So there you have it, guys and girls. That is this week's Q&A. Thank you for the great questions. Hopefully I didn't ramble too much, and hopefully I slowed it down, although I don't think I did. You're just gonna have to put up with the fact I speak fast. But yeah, we'll see you all in the next one. I look forward to your questions then. Keep safe, everyone. Keep well, and we'll see you all again next time. Take care.